Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second roundtable session of Beyond the Buzzword, the True Meaning of Experience-Driven Commerce for B2C. In our session today, we'll cover the what, why, and how of driving experience-driven commerce at the consideration and engagement stage of the B2C customer lifecycle. In the kickoff session of this series, which is available for you to watch now on Perficient.com, we defined the Perficient point of view of experience-driven commerce as the result of an organization that evolves from a siloed, manual, transactional approach to a customer-centric, insights-informed, omni-channel mindset that drives growth by enabling meaningful customer relationships. This definition sets the foundation for today's experience-driven commerce at the consideration and engagement stage of the life cycle. Now I'd like to introduce you to today's hosts and experts. My name is Kim Williams-Czopek. I'm a Director of Strategy and Innovation in the B2C space for Perficient, and I'll be serving today as our moderator for the experience-driven commerce conversation and the entire B2C track. We also have Tyson Damon. He spent the last 16 years creating award-winning digital experiences for brands big and small, with a focus on emerging technology, digital product design, and brand storytelling. As a director in the experience design practice, Tyson leads the user experience and visual design work at Perficient. And we also have Gabe Jimenez as a senior digital producer in the experience design practice at Perficient. He's an adaptable jack of all trades who has overseen projects of all types, including design, development, ad campaigns, emerging technologies, SEO, content development, and more. While Gabe's expertise lies in project and account management, his passion lies in using design principles and technology to turn business problems into business solutions. Tyson and Gabe, take it away.
All right, thank you, Kim. So I'm going to start out with the what. What are we actually talking about here today? I think we can all agree that the world is more digital today than it was yesterday, and it'll be even more digital tomorrow than it was today. The pandemic also has advanced us multiple years along this digital timeline. So experiences are increasingly becoming more digital. And what we want to focus on here is how experience-driven commerce in this new reality really means that seamlessness between the physical and digital spaces. How do we kind of connect the dots between the physical and the digital? And it's really at these connection points where brands can innovate. So I kind of mentioned a few of those terms, digital and physical. Really, specifically what we're talking about is digital experiences. So how we can engage through innovative experiences on your customers' terms. Phygital experiences, so using digital experiences in a physical context, whether that's in a store or even at home, to drive excitement. And then also digital responsibility. It's not really enough just to engage anymore. Customers expect brands to be good digital citizens, focusing on topics like authenticity, inclusion, sustainability. So these are all topics that we're going to be talking about today. Looking at our market landscape slide here, we like to think of the market through this lens of now, new, and next. So now are those experiences that are must-haves, table stakes, that put you on par with your competition. The new experiences are those emergent experiences that we're starting to see trending. Not a ton of companies are doing these yet, but it's on the horizon. And then next are those truly innovative and differentiating experiences that may be a little more on the riskier side, but have a high engagement reward. We are going to be focusing primarily in the new and next columns today, as that's really Gabe and my expertise area, and kind of how working at that intersection of physical and digital requires innovation, and how you can do that as a company. I'll pass it over to Gabe.
Great, thanks, Tyson. Now that we've talked a little bit about what consideration and engagement are, let's talk about why they're important. So over the last couple of years, we've seen a decrease in the amount of brick and mortar stores as more consumers are turning to digital experiences and offerings for their retail needs. This change is only expected to increase over time and has actually been accelerated by quite a bit as the world found itself in a global pandemic for the last year and a half. As a result, consumers were physically unable to visit those brick and mortar stores and has spurred many brands to initiate or accelerate their digital maturity in an effort to find more regular touch points with their audiences. Finally, an engaged customer is also just a more lucrative customer. Studies have shown that you'll find more success in converting your customers by getting them engaged with your brand and or products, which can be done in a multitude of ways, which we'll be talking about a bit later. So as Tyson mentioned, today we're really going to be focusing more on kind of the cutting edge innovation side of consideration and engagement. So there's a lot of different tactics for garnering that. Innovation can mean different things to different industries, meaning there's a wide range of whys depending on your specific offering. So we've talked a bit about how the engaged customer is a more lucrative one. So when thinking about ways, innovating ways to garner that engagement for your brand, you should always be considering what are those benefits to the customer, as this is going to play a major factor in your success. So how does the offering connect customers to the world? How does it change their life? How does it make them feel, and how does it perform? These are all really good questions to keep in mind at the very onset of any innovation project, as this is typically going to help you understand the benefits to the customer or the lack thereof, which is just as important, and will help you hone in on specific areas of focus. So now the question is, why is innovation worth investing in from a business perspective? The short answer is there's a lot. It can lead to new revenue streams. It can differentiate you from your competitors, leading to increased consideration of your offerings. And it can just help you to understand your audience in ways you were previously unable to. While today's session is focused on the consideration and engagement side, innovation can often lead to increased awareness as well as operational efficiency. The major point to keep in mind here is that you must fund experimentation to lead to innovation. It's not going to magically happen on its own. And sometimes you're only going to come away with learnings. That being said, this doesn't mean you're just gambling away your investment. There's a couple things to remember here. Customers are willing to pay more for innovation. Customers are also more loyal to those innovative brands, and you don't necessarily have to build the whole ship at once. Having a focused experimentation program is going to give you more control and insight into your results. So you can take an iterative approach where you don't need to launch with every single feature right out of the gate. Define your ROI on the onset, focus on specific areas, define milestones, and assess whether it's worth further investment or if it's time to call it quits. Remember, ROI isn't always necessarily judged by monetary value.
So now we're going to jump into the how, and this is really the fun part for us because we get to show you some cool ideas on how you can start thinking about this innovation and putting this innovation into practice. So, during consideration and engagement, what we really are aiming to do is create that deeper engagement through consistent connected experiences. So I mentioned before, the kind of digital to physical and back again loop. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about are how we can add digital layers to physical merchandising and display that helps elevate that product, that display into a completely new category of reality, really. The brands that are testing these emerging experiences are perceived as forward thinking. So this is touching a little bit on what Gabe said, customers willing to pay more, brands being perceived as innovative, as leading in the industry just by investing in these types of experiences. And that translates to product perception as well. It could be the same product, but you put this digital layer with it, you give it a digital connection that instantly elevates that product. But it can't be technology for the sake of technology, and I think that's really important to take away here. We want to make sure that we are providing experiences for customers that make sense for their context. We're not just going to throw a flashy element in front of them and expect them to engage with it. It has to make sense for them. Some of the specific ways we do this are listed on this screen, and this is really only a sample, but some of the ones that we want to call out today. One is AR/VR. Think about things like product visualization with augmented reality or virtual reality, providing customers a way to view things in a brand new way, and really have an engaging experience while they're considering that product. We also, want to think about helping customers find what they want through innovative wayfinding. Thinking about that in a physical and a digital context. Smart spaces and IoT are another area of focus, and what they can do to enhance in-store experiences for both customers and businesses through the data that we can capture. Projection mapping is another way that we can think about augmenting physical products and spaces to elevate them beyond their typical context. We also use artificial intelligence to try to understand what the customer wants and needs and provide interactions that simply weren't possible before. And then finally, immersive storytelling really looks at how we can create deeper connections with a brand. So we're going to show you some case studies here, and I'm going to start out with a project we did with Wacol. Wacol makes intimates for women. Really, what they tasked us with was finding a way to deliver their expert in-store bra fittings digitally. So how can we do that? So we can capture some of that online traffic while foot traffic to the stores has decreased, primarily due to the pandemic, but in this new sort of digital context we live in, it's something that is definitely a concern moving forward. So we created this My Bra Fit app, and it's really the first experience of its kind, which allows customers to accurately size themselves from the comfort of their own home to find that perfect bra fit. So it's a revolutionary AI-based app experience that provides accurate sizes within minutes and delivers personalized purchase recommendations. So all a customer, really needs to do is set up the app, input a few measurements, do a quick spin, and they're instantly given results that afford recommendations on the actual website, so you can track your size and the proper product recommendations for your size. Hand it over to Gabe.
All right, yeah, so Browse AR is an internal experiment that we worked on with the hopes of creating a lightweight browser-based AR product visualization experience. So this is going to be an example of a digital experience here, but we spent about 2 weeks building this, focusing on proving out the tech. So what we'll be looking at right here is going to be a bit more of a prototype than a full-on demo. In this video, the user starts by selecting the color of the headphones they would like to try on, then clicks on the virtual try-on button to initiate the product visualization. The headphones follow the user's head, allowing them to see how the headphones look at multiple angles, depths, etc. As mentioned, while we were building this, we time-boxed this and focused on proving out the technology. So given some additional time, we could definitely improve the head tracking, explore adding additional types of objects that can be tried on, including some potentially soft objects, and even add additional functionality for things like virtual measurement, which you saw in the Wacol example. In this example, we worked with Detroit Energy to create a microsite for a 3D interactive home that was meant as an edutational experience. While DTE has their main web experience with information outlining the various details of their programs and offerings, this was meant to be a more interactive and engaging experience to increase interest and engagement. Here you'll see the overview map, which allows users to navigate through the various rooms of the house. Each room is full of explorable objects, allowing users to learn about TTE's programs and products. We also implemented a form of gamification via a progress tracking system. So as users click on objects and explore multiple rooms, they'll be awarded with badges as they explore. Here you'll get a snapshot of the experience in action, showing the various rooms, objects, and animations that really brought the experience together. And shortly you'll see the progress tracking that we mentioned. All right.
Moving on to another example, we worked with the Wrigley rooftops, and if anyone doesn't know Chicago well, the Wrigley rooftops are a unique set of properties surrounding Wrigley Field that offer game and concert experiences. So it's almost like an extension of the stadium with these, turn of the century apartment buildings that have seating on top and experiences within the buildings themselves. So we worked, the rooftops ticketing experience was scattered across several websites. The biggest pain point for customers was understanding what it was like to experience a game or a concert from one of the rooftops. What is the view like? What are the property amenities? So we designed and engineered an immersive site that showcases these properties and tells a unique visual story about each property. One of the key features here was 360-degree panoramas that we created to really literally put someone in the game and give them that sense of view and what it would be like to be at a game at one of these properties. So here you can kind of see an animation of what that looks like. Moving on to an example of a unique in-store experience. Now we're getting into that kind of phygital space. We worked with a major candy manufacturer on a candy customizer, and this is really a store within a store concept. And what we were trying to focus on was getting customers into the aisle and keeping them there as long as we could, right? There's some data that shows, getting people into the aisle results in a much higher percentage of a purchase eventually. So what is that element that can really grab attention when a user is in that sort of consideration phase, say they're walking down the Walmart aisle or Costco or whatever. And we worked on this candy factory concept. So think about this kind of Wonka-esque, experience right inside the store. So customers can create their own candy mix, whichever ones are their favorites. And it really, this creates an entirely new way of engaging with the product and almost an entirely new product category itself, where we're bringing together these things that we normally think of as separate entities, as separate products. And, a user or a customer can put them together finally in their favorite mix. We created 3D visuals that and animations that really bring the factory to life. So that's another way of, creating that excitement. So there's something to, look forward to when you get into that aisle. Another kind of in-store experience, but looking at it from more of the business angle, we worked with Microsoft on a smart store concept for their retail experience center. The goal really was to help sales associates have better conversations with customers and, ultimately to convert sales. On the customer side, it was about making good recommendations based on things we knew about you, like dwell time and purchase history. So the actual technical part of this was a beacon network that we built out to track location. We also built out a mobile app for consumers and a connected sales associate dashboard. All of these components combined provide insight to sales associates, like the heat maps or the sales history, in turn helping them have those and provide those better conversations and services to their customers. Another retail experience, more of a, playing in that connection between the physical to digital experience, is a concept we put together called Everyday Carry AR. And it's an augmented reality experience that essentially lets you take products home without purchasing them. So think about being in a store, being able to say add items to a wish list, and then being able to virtually visualize those products with all of your other fashion accessories. And we focused in on accessories here, but this could also be a very powerful experience for home goods, decor, even car shopping. So as we go through this video here, you can see we're selecting some products in a wish list, and then you can view those products, say on your tabletop. Here we're showing kind of, you scan your tabletop, and then the app places those products from your wish list on your table. And, the goal here is to assess just the fashion and fit and size of those objects in comparison with other accessories you might have. So like I said, we're focused on accessories, but you can imagine this being pretty useful in other retail contexts as well.
All right, and in our final example, this is going to be another example of kind of the in-store technology. Tyson, we can probably go on to the next slide, because I think this one will be pretty self-explanatory, but we created a prototype that allows customization of shoe colors and styling using projection mapping technology. So the idea here is that this would be set up in store and would allow customers to directly interact with these. The example we just watched is an example of being able to change the color palette of a given shoe based on some interactions on the table right there that are also being projected on. And then in our next example here, you'll see how we were able to actually make the shoe model look like different styles of shoes. So we'll see kind of what a running shoe may look like versus a hiking shoe, and so on. Again, this was meant to be an internal prototype, so we time boxed this to prove out the initial functionality. But given some additional time, this is another area where we think we could improve upon adding additional layers of customization, allowing users to select specific points on the shoe in which to customize and give them some additional control. All right, so we've touched on many of these key considerations as we've gone through our presentation today, but there's many to keep in mind as you experiment with innovation. By no means do you need to check the box for all of these, but as you're thinking about what's right for your company, you should aim to find the right balance between customer, operational, and technology needs to ensure a successful endeavor. And with that, I will hand it back to Kim.
Wow, I'm kind of blown away by all of the examples that you guys talked us through. It's really, really exciting to see, really not even new, more all of those next experiences that really, like you said, drive increased engagement and really drive some loyalty. And there are a few big takeaways. I think, when we talk about what is experience-driven commerce and rooted in culture, I think Gabe and Tyson, you hit some key points. You have to invest to innovate, but the investment doesn't have to be huge. And there are different ways to measure ROI. It's not always a financial KPI, which I think is such an important point. Maybe the goal of an innovation is really, just to prove out a piece of technology or to get more information about your customer that would lead to the next innovation. So I think that's so important. How do you think about innovation in an organization that isn't so, blue sky, that has to be expensive and there's a huge risk of failure? No, you can contain it. And I think that you said, I think earlier on, if you have that experiment, stay aligned to your brand promise, be authentic, be a good digital citizen, Tyson, I think you said. And I think that, again, goes back to some of the cultural aspects of experience-driven commerce. And you can see some of the very really cool things that you can do with the right, foundational capabilities. So I think to kind of round us out, of course, Perficient can help you achieve. And I saw, Gabe, you in some of those videos. So you're not only a strategist, you're also a user. So I think you can speak to some of these things firsthand. But how can Perficient help? I mean, certainly we can help put together some of these proofs of concept, and we can box it in any way you see fit. We have many practices to bring to the table. Our digital strategy team, our experience design team, our digital marketing team, our commerce team can all work in conjunction to come up with these proofs of concepts. We have some great tools and methods that'll help get us to some of these innovations. And, we've pulled out a few case studies for you all to take a closer look at that Gabe and Tyson outlined here. And finally, it's not on the slide, but if nothing else, have a listen to our What If, So What podcast you can find on Perficient.com, which really does deeper dives into some of the capabilities and topics that Gabe and Tyson talked about today in terms of the, what if you could do something as part of your digital strategy? Well, so what? How do you make it real? How do you measure effectiveness? How do you really change some of the cultural foundations of your company to make these things happen? So thanks so much for everybody listening, and we look forward to hearing from you. And be sure to watch the next episode in the Experience-Driven Commerce series, which is all about driving experiential commerce at the purchase and fulfillment stage.